I was like, there's no medical science in AA. There's no modern science in AA. They're like, yeah, but the co-founder was a doctor. I'm like, yo, Dr. Bob was a proctologist. That is a rectal surgeon. I do not want a 1930s rectal surgeon telling me about my drinking. What do you even mean? How is that like authority? Hello, welcome to Sobriety, Bestie podcast. I am Kirsten, up in the woods again for another episode of Culty Comments. And this one we're having a little bit of a twist on. We're going to do a commenter who talks about culty commenters. We got some good vibes up in here. He says, the more I listen to you, the more I get out of it. I commented a while ago that after 30 plus years of sobriety, I could now have a drink every time I wanted one, that I rarely had two and was truly a social drinker. So some hero came in mind and explained that I had never been an alcoholic. My experience is at odds with several key ideas in AA. I'm not doomed to never be able to control my drinking, that the disease continues to progress even when you aren't drinking, and I remain grateful to AA for being my avenue to decades of sobriety. I now know I'm one of the few for whom it worked well. Even at the time, I knew I had to suspend my disbelief. Oh, and I never did a fourth step. Okay, so when he says in here that now people are saying that he's not an alcoholic or not a real alcoholic, that's definitely something that occurs frequently. That's something that happens to me all the time. And what I've come to see that as when I do like digging into cult psychology is it's how you keep a system closed. So it's a circular logic where you make up a word. And so the word that Bill made up is real alcoholic, right? It's if you Google manipulative terms or if you Google what is a true Scotsman, it'll say that, okay, when you create this term like a true Scotsman or a real alcoholic, it makes you be able to say anybody who falls out of our definition, therefore, is completely discounted. They don't count. They don't have any value. Our rules are still intact. There is no disproving the system because we've made up a term. It's coercive control. It's a cult tactic. And so in AA's case, it's real alcoholic. So if you leave the program and you find that you can socially drink, like this commenter said, then yes, you're not a real alcoholic. You were never a real alcoholic. And so I get that all the time. It's because I'm able to leave AA and I haven't been to AA in over 5 years that I was never a real alcoholic, because a real alcoholic would need AA in order to stay sober. And I've stayed sober since 2009. So while I was in AA, I for sure was a real alcoholic because I fit the criteria for it. Now that I understand modern medical science and I'm thinking critically, what I understand is in 2009, when I went to rehab, I would have qualified for alcohol use disorder. It's a spectrum, right? Mild, moderate to severe. I would have qualified for severe at that time based upon the questions, the yes or no questions that you answer. That's relevant for 1 year. So after a year, it's in the past 12 months is how they look at that. And then after 5 years, depending upon where you look, people are considered recovered. This idea of a real alcoholic who is forever has a fatal progressive disease is mythology from Bill's 1930s ideas that he got from the Oxford cult religion. Yeah, it's not scientific at all. It's a cult religion that was rebranded from the Oxford group. And yeah, so it doesn't actually make sense. So he was told that he was never been an alcoholic. His experience is at odds with several key ideas in AA because AA's ideas were made up. They weren't based on the reality of everybody's experiences. They were based on 100 men and women, but really that was 82. It wasn't even 100. Bill exaggerated. So he had a very small sample size of people who probably were extreme drinkers, I would guess. And then he said, this is how it is. I'm going to take the 82 people around me and decide that everybody is like that. And or that these people are called a real alcoholic, and that means something medically, that means something neurologically, that means something genetically, biologically, or something else. It's so funny. Somebody was just like, I was like, there's no medical science in AA. There's no modern science in AA. They're like, yeah, but the co-founder was a doctor. I'm like, yo, Dr. Bob was a proctologist. That is a rectal surgeon. I do not want a 1930s rectal surgeon telling me about my drinking. What do you even mean? How is that like authority? Oh, I digress. The wildest things happen in the comments, that's for sure. And then I remain grateful to AA for being my avenue for decades of sobriety. I know I'm one of the few for whom it worked well. I think that is true, that it is very few for who that it worked well. I'm actually one of the people that I would consider that it worked well for, because I was in there a decade. I was a true believer. I loved it. Y'all seen already, I went to Bill's grave. I went to Dr. Bob's grave. I went to Bill's house, Dr. Bob's house. I even went to the tavern, Bill's grandmother's tavern that he was born upstairs in. And so I did all the things. I loved it. I went to the conferences. I was in it. I loved AA. People think that I had a bad experience. My AA experience was bad, and that's why I'm dissenting now. No, I'm dissenting now because it's bullshit. I'm dissenting now because it was literally, most likely, the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life was leaving AA, and I think that we deserve better. We do. We deserve better. I feel like people won't just say the truth. They want to let us rot in church basements for the rest of our lives, believing this hogwash. And that people, like officials in the field, don't have the balls or the courage or the whatever, the ovaries, to stand up and say the truth. And so, F it. I don't think it's right. So I'm saying something. And I get why they won't want to say something, because it comes with a lot of abuse. People are bananas. So yeah, it did work for me, but it's actually not true. And I like how he says, by the way, I never did a fourth step. I did a bunch of fourth steps. But I feel like, and let me know if you did this too, like, I feel like with my fourth steps, like, how many do you need to do? Because I felt like I was like grasping for straws, or like kind of making stuff up to add to it, to have something on there. I was going deeper and deeper and deeper into my part of traumas that I experienced, to see how I might have played a part in these traumas. It was completely ridiculous. And I would even argue harmful in some ways, to be calling up people and making amends for my part in my own trauma. So I don't even agree that the fourth step process is super helpful. Like, in general, I think that going to a professional is a better idea. Going to like a trained therapist, somebody who actually has modern science techniques. So enough out of me. What do you think? What do you think about this commenter? I like how he says explained. You know how they say, they call it like mansplained? What should we call it? Like AA splained, culty splained, stepper-splained, stepper-splained. Maybe that's it. When you get stepper-splained, when they just come at you with the dogma. All right, if you are feeling lonely or want some more connection on your deconstructing AA journey, I do have a free community. I'll put the link down below. It's inside the AA Escape Kit. So if you want to get the Escape Kit, there's all sorts of resources in there to help you with your deconstruction journey. Downloadables that you can print out, and a community. It is all free. It is the Escape Kit. Check it out below. And let me know what you thought about this commenter who had a culty experience with somebody else. And I'll see you in the next video.